Here we go.
Hello and welcome to Traffic Paradise Radio. I'm Uno, and joining me today is Niamh. Hello, Niamh. How are you?
Hey, I am very good. I could have been better during the race yesterday, but I've accepted it. I've moved on. Looking forward to Silverstone.
Yeah. So depending on who your driver is, yesterday was either absolutely amazing or terrible. Also, I suppose depending on who your team is. So let's just talk about it. So we're here to discuss the Austrian Grand Prix. And why is my face so big? That's not what it's supposed to be like. There we go. That's much better. Okay. So the 2025 Austrian Grand Prix reaction. Let's have a look and see what went down. Okay, I think we have a slight delay, so I do apologize for that. Let's head into the comments and see, is anyone there yet? No one's there yet. Okay. Hello to whoever's watching. There's one person so far, so hi to the one person. You are welcome. And hello to everyone who's watching in the future when this is no longer a live stream, just a video on YouTube. So 2025 Austrian Grand Prix. It was yesterday. Very late race for me, but I think like a normal time race for everyone in Europe, which must be nice. So just your general vibe, what did you think?
I thought it was like very entertaining. I thought there was some really good racing. I just did not have a good time. Obviously, Alex Albon retired. Yuki, yeah. But I thought it was really entertaining. Especially when it came to like the last few laps and the McLarens were still hunting each other down. I also found it very funny that Carlos Sainz couldn't get going, so they aborted the start, and then he managed to get going, got all the way around, and then the car caught fire because that is just such a Williams thing to happen. Yeah, so it was definitely eventful.
Yeah, no, definitely. Tay says, I am watching, just doing homework while I listen. Hello, Tay. Welcome. And yeah, so let's start off with that Carlos Sainz because he's the first casualty on the grid for that race, and there were a few. He's listed as DNF, but I think he's technically DNS.
DNS. He didn't take the lights.
Yeah. So we've got Carlos Sainz, DNF, obviously, and then Alex DNF'd as well, not too long after that. He didn't make it very far in the race. So not a great race for Williams. Yeah, probably one for them to forget. They do have is Silverstone still their home race? Now that they're an American-owned team, I think Silverstone's still their home race. So
they're still
they've got a home race coming up. Hopefully for them,
heritage-wise, it's definitely Silverstone.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, hopefully their weekend will be better coming up. And just in case you're interested, we will be doing our predictions video for the Silverstone Grand Prix on Wednesday. So make sure to subscribe, and if you want to, click the notification button so you don't miss that prediction video. But less on the future, more on the recent past. Carlos Sainz, Alex Albon, DNF. But The big DNF of the race, well, two of them really, was Kimi Antonelli and Max Verstappen. Very much Kimi's fault. Max was just unfortunate passenger victim, whatever you want to call it, in that I don't think Max Verstappen's ever really been a victim, but in that case, he was one. So yeah, just was this literally a rookie error? It's not like Kimi Antonelli's the only driver to ever do something like that, but it did seem like it was just maybe he was a bit too daring. He didn't really realize that the other cars were stopping in the way or slowing down in the way they were slowing down. Or was it just like he kind of lost control? What do you think happened there?
So from what I remember seeing him say, he went all right and then like locked the rears and he couldn't control the car. So I think it was probably a combination of rookie error and also just bad luck. Like, had he braked slightly sooner, maybe he wouldn't have hit Max, but maybe he then would have taken out, I don't even know who else was there, could have taken out George Russell instead. So there was a bit of good luck that it was Max he took out. Not for Max, obviously, but at least he didn't take out his teammate.
Yeah.
No Spain 2016 stuff going on here. Go from Canada with the McLarens to Austria with the Mercs. That would have been certainly something. Also, I think Kira would have lost her mind.
Yeah.
But no, probably just rookie and bad luck. And it also, that corner seemed to collect a lot of F2 drivers as well. Obviously, in the sprint race, they had the car roll over another car. With the F2 drivers, that was a pretty scary crash, actually. Someone managed to screenshot like the exact moment the cars were balanced on top of each other, and like it's such a cool picture, but it's also like terrifying. Makes me so glad for like the halos and stuff. But yeah, there was lots of incidents there with like F2 and F3. So obviously that's not ideal. There was something that was bound to happen. We got through turn 1 all right. He at least made it more than one corner. Yeah, he's still a rookie. We need to cut him a bit of slack, but let's not do it again, Kimmy, please. My heart rate was through the roof. You broke my Twitter. Everyone was crashing out.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, even Max said, he was like, rookies make mistakes like that. It happens. He's not going to like hold a grudge or anything. He was like, it is what it is. Which I thought was a nice bit of maturity from Max in that situation. I thought he handled it very well. And yeah, I think Kimmy will have to learn from this and come back in Silverstone stronger. But let's jump to the other end of the finishing positions. And we've got the two McLarens in P1 and P2. A great weekend for McLaren, dominated the field. Charles was almost 20 seconds away from Lando and about 16 seconds or 17 seconds away from Oscar. So a huge gap. And, it's quite a short lap. And the gap between McLaren and the rest of the field was just crazy. I mean, you had everyone up to P7 was lapped even, so and I think Lawson just missed out on being lapped as well. So
the lap times were about 1 minute 10.
Yeah.
So Liam was just literally 2 seconds away. So had we not had that aborted start, then he could very well have been lapped as well.
Yeah.
And then it would have been only the top 5 that hadn't been, which is like ridiculous to think about.
Crazy domination from McLaren, but I think more importantly, a dominant and very measured and controlled weekend from Lando Norris. He was fast from the get-go in FP1, or sorry, not FP1, FP2. Did he didn't drive in FP1, correct?
No, Alex Dunn was in the car.
Yeah, okay. And we'll talk a little bit about that later.
I
But
was watching FP1 in a restaurant with my little brother, and he was looking at the names, and he was like, "Who's June?" And I was like, "What?" He was like, "Yeah, there's no Lando Norris. Has he been fired for crashing with his teammate?" And I was like, "No, no, that is not what happens." And he was like, "Oh, but that would be pretty funny." And I was like, "It would be funny, but they wouldn't do that." And he was like, "Well, why is there another person in his car?" And I was like, "Because why not?
Yeah.
Why not?"
So my sort of take on the whole thing is that this season, Oscar has sort of been labeled as this like sort of cool, calm, unflappable driver who doesn't let the pressure get to him. And I'm not saying that he let the pressure get to him this weekend, but he might be on the main unflappable, but there was a slight twitching of wings, shall we say, when it came to Oscar this weekend. Little moments that were uncharacteristic from him. Obviously, it was all okay, but he did also almost have an Antonelli moment where he locked the brakes and just almost, like, it was so close. I was like, ah! And then he also, we'll talk about the other incident a little bit later as well. But just he wasn't 100% Oscar that we've seen from the last few races. So I do think that Lando, it's not like, oh, Lando got lucky or Oscar was held up or da-da-da. Like, no. Lando beat Oscar this weekend, no question about it. And I think that makes this championship so interesting. And I think it also kind of takes that pressure off of Lando now. He's the one hunting Oscar, and Oscar's got to make sure that he doesn't make any mistakes, because then he will lose his lead, and you want to go into summer break as the leader of the championship. And at the moment, I don't know if that's going to happen. So I think it's quite an interesting dynamic now at McLaren. What do you think about it?
Yeah, like you said, very interesting dynamic coming up. Like, good on Lando for, like, obviously just outright beating Oscar. I don't think that potential extra lap would have, like, done anything, but like, in terms of letting Oscar catch Lando, maybe would have extended the gap to Charles a little bit more, but I really don't think there was much more that Oscar could have done. Obviously, his engineer got on the radio at one point and was like, "Oh yeah, if you keep locking up, then we're going to be like damaging the brakes and whatever. It's damaging our race." Which I just want to touch on that really quickly. Obviously, that got broadcast. And then I saw a bunch of people online being like, "Oh, why would you not wait until you're in private? Why would you not wait until the debrief to go over this?" And I was like, well, I'll give them their due. I think they're a pretty new fan. They give feedback like that on the radio so it doesn't end their race. Like, if Oscar wasn't told that and he accidentally locked up and hit the back of Franco or Lance or whoever he was lapping, and that ended his race because his engineer hadn't told him, they would have no points. And so things like that do get told over the radio. They don't always get broadcast, but it'll be like, I remember there was one time that it was like they showed Charles like his radio message saying that he needs to lift and coast, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, but Lewis didn't get told to do this," or maybe it was even Carlos, I can't remember. They're like, "He didn't get told to do this, therefore he's the better driver." And it was like, no, they're just choosing what to, like, publish, what to put on the stream. Every driver gets corrections like that. It is very important to their race that they get corrections like that. So let's not jump the gun and say that he's being admonished, or I was about to say rollicked, but I don't think that's the right word I'm thinking of, like, over the radio. Every driver gets things like that. They're very helpful. And also, I think the media is trying to build up, like, a very, oh, it's all to play for. It's like, who's going to be the first driver? I think McLaren's going to hold off for as long as possible. And I think they're also going to let them race, because they did come over the radio and say to Oscar, well, it's your choice to race or not. Obviously, Oscar went for it because he wants to extend his lead. He's still got a decent lead over Lando. But I think they're going to be smart about it. And I don't think the team's going to want to get involved because regardless of how it ends, they are going to have a world champion.
Yeah. I think now that if you had asked me this like 5 races ago, I would have said they got to pick a driver because Max is too close, George is too close, it's too close. Like they don't have enough breathing room. But I think now they actually do, and they can afford to just let them race, and it's going to make for great entertainment factor and great viewing for us as fans because like it was a thrilling race to see the two sort of, and it wasn't like Lando led like for most of the race, except when he had stopped to pits or whatever. But it wasn't like he was demolishing Oscar either. Oscar was still in it, and he was trying to make passes, and there were passes and then like pass back, and it was interesting, and it was very fun to watch. So I think if we have that for the rest of the season, where these two drivers are fighting every meter of track to get that win, like that's great for us as viewers and as fans of the sport. And I think it's a great sort of, if you want people to get into Formula One, that's what you need. You need a title fight. And we haven't had that for so long. And I mean, we kind of almost had one last year, but it just, Brazil kind of just threw everything off because Max had that dominant victory in Brazil, and it sort of was curtains after that. And Lando was always like just a little bit too far behind to actually do anything.
I think it was about
this year, it's very different.
I think it was about Austria last year that people started talking about a potential title fight between Lando and Max, and then there was obviously the big drama when the two of them crashed. I think Lando has learned a lot from that specific incident, and also he'll have learned from Canada, and so he will take that, and like obviously he didn't take particularly many risks from what I during yesterday's race, probably because he learned from last year. But I think it's interesting because obviously you don't crash with your teammates the first thing. That's like your first rule. Finishing the race with any amount of points is better than DNFing. And I think he's started to, I think both of them actually have gotten to the point where they're not thinking about individual races, they are thinking about the championship.
Yeah.
Like, I would say that about Oscar as well. Like, P2 is better than P3 in the long run.
Yeah.
Obviously, P1's the best, but you're not going to risk your entire race for an extra, what is it, 7 points? Something like that. You're not going to risk your race for an extra 7 points.
So, it's P17. So, yeah, I mean, Oscar could finish. So, he could do another, like, second place, first place finish like this week, and he'll still be in the lead. So he does have that a little bit of a buffer. It's not a massive buffer, but he does have it. So he needs to be careful with how he goes about things because, as we've seen this season, it's going to go between the two of them. One weekend, one of them will be stronger than the other. And as long as Oscar can make sure that on average, he's got like one weekend more than Lando does, Oscar's got the championship, So it is just it's now about being strategic in when you deploy your aggression and your skills and stuff, and when you just go, you know what, I'm happy with a P3, it's okay, or whatever it might be. So
we assume a 1-2 finish for the next 2 races. Lando is still 1 point behind Oscar. Like, if Lando wins the next 2, and Oscar comes second, he's still 1 point behind because there's a 15-point gap at the moment.
I think there'll be 1 point ahead, actually. Because isn't it 8 points difference between P1 and P2?
It's 25 points and 18 points, so it's 7 points. I think. Oh, you've got me doubting myself now. Come on, my mental maths is probably wrong. Wait, I'll Google it really quickly. F1 champion points. Race win. 25 points and 18 for second. So yeah, 7 points in it. So it would take 2 races, and Lando would still be 1 point behind. Uno, are you there? Have we lost you? Wow, you're in the trenches of bad Wi-Fi. Wow. Anyway, that's unfortunate. So yeah, 2 race wins, and Lando would still be 1 point behind Oscar. Oh, you're back. Oh, and he's gone again. Great. I'm just gonna keep talking. So obviously, I can't really add more to that discussion without Uno there. So I'm just going to move on.
I think.
Hey, there you go. There you go. You're back now. Are you back?
Okay, so Ferrari. Yeah, I'm
Ferrari.
back. I think I'm back. I think there's a delay. Yeah, Ferrari. So we have Charles and Lewis in P3 and P4. I thought it was interesting because there was Charles was ahead of Lewis for the whole weekend, you know. But there was an interesting moment where Ferrari brought Lewis in, and Lewis was like, "Why are you bringing me in? Like, I can go." I think he didn't. I don't think he actually said it, but I think he was implying like, "I can go to the end of the race on this set of tires. I don't need to come in. I can make this work." And if he had done that, Charles probably would have caught up to him by the end of the race. But who knows? You know, Lewis could have defended well and just eked out that like P3. It would have been very close. And I think as much as McLaren said like let them fight, Ferrari was like, no, we can't possibly do that. And I almost feel like because Hamilton's pace was like quite far off, but I almost feel like it's because he was doing that tire management so he could make the one stop work. And then it's just Ferrari said, no, we're not doing that. And they brought him in. And there was a little bit of, I don't know, like, it's always like what could have happened, we'll never know. But I do think it was interesting that dynamic played out. And it only fuels the sort of weird, they only favor Charles, or it's like, and I don't think it's that, like, I don't think they would have spent like, was it like £100 million or whatever, and like this massive endorsement deal and everything to bring Hamilton over only for him to be like the number 2 driver.
Second driver.
You know? Yeah, like that's not why they brought him over. So I don't buy that narrative, but I do think that they are trying to manage their driver situation so that it doesn't become messy.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, let it be messy. Let it be a little bit messy. You're Ferrari. You are like intrinsically messy, but in a positive way.
You are Formula One, and you are dramatic, and you are iconic. Come on.
You're a bright red car.
Red Bull's beating you at the moment. Come on. Red Bull's become slightly more iconic than you in recent years. Come on. You can't have that. Can't have that.
Yeah.
Red 100%. Cars. Come on.
Yeah. So, okay. So that's Ferrari. Charles with a podium. Good for him. Lewis will definitely be thinking, what happened there, and what can I do different next week to make sure that doesn't happen again?
A lot of raised eyebrows there.
Yeah. Next week it's his home Grand Prix. So I think he'll be very keen to put in a good performance at Silverstone.
But it's also like the entire grid's home Grand Prix. So everyone's going to be scrapping it out.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I'm counting Alex Albon, by the way.
5. Yeah, it's a quarter of the grid plus 1.
Plus all the British teams.
3. Is it 3 British teams or 4? I think it's 3.
I think it's
4. Does Aston Martin count as a British team? I never know.
Wait, where are you getting a 4th British team from? Because McLaren, Williams, Aston.
Isn't Merck a British team?
Don't they play the German anthem though?
I don't know. Used to be a British team.
It probably is.
I don't know.
Like, I
Who
associate
knows?
it with being British, but I know Mercedes is a German brand.
Yeah. No,
So
definitely.
mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, whatever it is, like there'll be
The
a lot of
entire
cards
grid
saved for
can be
King.
classified. Merck are headquartered in the UK but are German. Thanks,
Yeah.
Tay. So,
I mean, the
three
thing is,
British teams.
the Merck team used to be British American Racing, which then became Honda, which was a Japanese-owned team, which then became Braun GP, which then became Mercedes. So that's why I'm a bit confused as to what country they actually count as, because they've been a lot in their long storied history in Formula One. But anyway, that's besides the point. Okay, so lots of teams, and yeah, so let's quickly finish it off with, let's just talk about, I think, the RBs, and we'll sort of touch on the Saubers and Red Bull and Alpine a bit later. But for now, let's just look at Liam Lawson, a career best finish in P6, is now ahead of Yuki Tsunoda in the championship standings. Awkward. And on the other side of the garage, you have Isaac Hadjar with one of, like, not his worst race of the season, but it wasn't by any means a good race for him. A bad weekend, I would say, for him. And Liam really did well this weekend. So what are your thoughts about that situation at Visa Cash App RB?
I think it's really interesting that we're saying that Isaac Hadjar had a really bad weekend and he finished P12 ahead of Pierre Gasly, who's won a race, Lance Stroll, who's gotten podiums, Yuki Tsunoda in a Red Bull. Like, I think it's interesting that, like, we've got such high standards for him now that it's like, yeah, P12 is a bad weekend, but also I think he was probably just struggling this weekend. From what I remember, he didn't have too good a year last year here in F2. I could just be making that up. He might have won both races for all I know. But wait, I actually need to check that now. That's going to bug me.
Okay, so while you check that, I'll just say that
Ollie Behrman won.
Oh, there we
Ollie
go.
Behrman won. So, he went fastest in free practice last year. So he didn't have he didn't go too badly here. But okay. But anyway, he didn't win any of the races. He didn't get pole. He just topped free
and then
practice.
I just think okay. Yeah, so I think why this is interesting is that there's been this, we know that this weekend to do a free practice session for, I believe it's in Yuki's car, for Red Bull.
Yeah,
and
Yuki's
he's obviously
car
seen
at
as like
Silverstone.
he's the next driver in the Red Bull Juniors. Yeah, he's the next driver in the Red Bull Juniors program who's going to step up to Formula One would presume. And the thing is, like, where does he go? There are 4 seats. I don't know, honestly, what's going to happen with Yuki. I don't know what's even going to happen with Max, because Max might leave as well.
Yeah, Max might go.
Liam
and
someone's
Yuki
going
are
to have
about
to
the
make
same
room
level
for
at the
Arvid
moment.
at the junior team. I think I cut out again. So
you have a little bit. I'm just sort of talking.
Yeah,
making.
I mean, it's a yeah, no, that's cool. I think the official term is a clusterfuck that Red Bull has gotten themselves into. And yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. But I think we've spent a lot of time on this, so let's move on a bit. But yeah, great race and great weekend for Liam Lawson. Well done, bro. You don't have many fans at this channel. Still probably don't. But I will congratulate you nonetheless.
We can respect you. Most of the dislike came from you getting the Red Bull seat over Yuki, but we respect you now.
Yeah. And maybe we should have been a lot happier with that. But anyway, how does everything affect Drivers' Championship standings? We've already said that there's only a 15-point gap between Oscar and Lando now. And Verstappen is now 61 points off of the lead in the championship. That is basically he'd have to win 3 times in a row, and McLaren would have to not win any points in order to like make up that gap, which is unlikely to happen. Russell is now only 9 points away from P3. And the Ferrari drivers are kind of quite far away from Russell. And then you've got Antonelli also kind of in his own little championship there, and Alex Albon in P8 also in his own little championship there, because they've all got like gaps of about between 20 and 30 points between them.
Yeah,
and then
you've
it
got
gets
like
interesting.
the top 2, and then you've got P3, P4, and then you've got Leclerc in his own championship, Hamilton on his own, Antonelli on his own, Albon on his own, and then you get to 9, 10, 11, and they're all 2 points away from each other.
Yeah. And effectively, it's Hulkenberg's looking very much like he was last season. You know, he's in that fight for the top 10. Ocon is sort of he's sort of taking over from Lance Stroll's position last season, and then Isaac has taken over from Yuki's position last season, and they're the 3 sort of fighting it out for that those last 2 places in the top 10. And yeah, I think, you know, had Isaac had his normal weekend, I think he would have been P9 at the moment. So, you know, yeah. But interestingly enough, the Aston Martin duo are both on 14 points now. So I think it's, you know, Alonso didn't have a great start to the season. So it's nice that he's now finally caught up with Lance, and we can see sort of who's going to, I think that's the most interesting. I know everyone like sort of thinks, you know, but I mean, Lance has been ahead of Fernando this entire season until yesterday. So props to Lance.
Even then, in the like free practice sessions, he was running faster. Like, I remember the commentary talking about it. I think it was maybe after the abort start, when they had like their 10-minute to get ready for the actual start. They were just sort of sitting there, and then they were talking about Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso, and they were like, yeah, he's been ahead of him like this entire weekend. And then obviously didn't end up like that in the race, but still interesting to note that the 2 of them seem pretty evenly matched. Like, obviously one's a 2-time world champion and the other's got a couple of podiums, but still.
No, I mean, Lance is a Nepo baby. Like, you can argue about his talent, but he is a Nepo baby. And I think the fact that everyone labels him that and is like, oh, he doesn't deserve to be in the sport, yet he's going toe-to-toe with a 2-time world champion. Some would argue like the 3rd or 4th best driver on the grid. And in his day was able to defeat Michael Schumacher in a good Ferrari. Like, you know, props to Lance. Well done, Lance. And then after those guys, we've got Sainz, who is not far off of the Aston Martin pair. And then Lawson up to P15 in the championship.
Yeah, he took a massive jump.
Was before this race, Yuki Tsunoda was in P15. So that's slightly awkward for all of us, I think. Me most of all. And then we've got Gasly in P16, and wouldn't you know it, the besties are together again, Tsunoda in P17.
Yay.
So Gasly and then you've got Behrman, Bortoleto finally on the points board, and Colapinto and Doohan, Alpine's second drivers, sort of languishing there at the bottom. So that is the Drivers' Championship standings. And moving on to the Constructors' standings, we've got McLaren on top, obviously almost with double the points of Ferrari, and Mercedes only 1 point behind Ferrari. So that's very interesting. That fight there for P2 is going to be fantastic to watch. And Red Bull is, well, Max, let's be honest. Max has got 152 points.
162.
It's sad. But yeah. No, Max is 152.
Oh.
Yuki has 10.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. So, I just thought you couldn't read it properly. I was like, no, let me sort that. Never mind.
But then you've got Williams in P5 with 55 points, but then you've got Racing Bulls, Haas, Aston Martin, and Kick Sauber separated by just 10 points. So again, very interesting fight for in the midfield, you know, and
then
I think,
Alpine.
and then you've got Alpine, yes.
They're kind of in a league of their own at the moment. And I don't mean that in like a Max complimentary way. I mean they are just there.
Yeah,
that's unfortunate. I wish them the best. I hope they get better soon. That makes it sound like they're ill.
I wish the team the best. I just don't wish Briatore the best.
Yes,
but anyway,
actually, I would love it if they would finish last, just because I think that would be funny.
Yes,
and it would annoy him.
Okay.
How long do you think until we get
speaking about
crash
people
dates
who
so we
should
can
be
score
sent
2 points? Pierre Gasly will crash to give Franco 2 points.
Yeah. Oh my God, that'll
get that P10 in.
horrendous.
Come on.
Okay, so let's move on. Paradise and Purgatory. So we've cutting around the issue somewhat. The main offenders this weekend, and here's our turn to talk about it. So in Purgatory, Niamh, you going first. Who have you put in Purgatory this weekend?
I have put the one, the only, Franco Colapinto. There was a couple of reasons for this. I will admit it was largely to do with his fans. Obviously, he was getting lapped by Oscar, and for whatever reason, he decided to push Oscar into the grass. I don't know if it was just he didn't realize that Oscar wasn't a car trying to overtake him or what. And then there was people saying that, oh yeah, the team didn't tell him. There were mirrors on the car for a reason. Like, first of all, your team should be telling you you're about to be lapped. But there's blue flags. You've got mirrors for a reason. And also, just, you're getting lapped. This isn't IndyCar where you can fight to stay on the lead lap. Blue flags mean you have to let them pass. Like, that was the main reason for me. But also, there was the incident with Yuki. Yuki, I think, was fairly penalized for that. It was just, he just didn't have a great race. But like I say, he pushed Oscar onto the grass, and then within literally 30 seconds, if you went to Oscar's Instagram, there was hundreds upon hundreds of hate comments from Argentinian fans. It was your driver that pushed the other driver off. Like, Oscar was innocent in this. He was literally just existing, and he gets pushed off by your driver. And if your response is automatically to send hate to the other driver, then you need to take a look at yourself in a mirror and ask what you are doing with your life.
Yes. And on that note, because, the same thing happened in Yuki's Instagram comments, so much that the comments had to be turned off. And it's not the first time this has happened, particularly from Franco Colapinto's fans. And it's not all Franco Colapinto's fans. He's got a lot of lovely fans who are actually very anti this.
Absolutely. Most of you are lovely.
Yeah.
The minority are the really loud ones. And the nice ones just need to stop getting annoyed at us whenever we're like, oh yeah, the Franco Colapinto fans are being like super annoying and aggressive. They're like, yeah, but it's not all of us. And we're like, believe me, we know it's not all of you. But still, you are getting a bad rep. Like, if I was to turn around on this podcast, if we had, say, 100,000 listeners or whatever, and I was to turn around...
We have 4 at the moment, so just pretend.
We have 4! Oh my God, we've grown a little bit. We had 1 earlier. But if I was to turn around when this podcast is, like, super big and, like, talk about Yuki and be like, oh yeah, Max Verstappen actually didn't deserve any of his race wins. And then this was like, I was the person that people would think of as like the Yuki fan. And I was sending hate to the drivers and I was doing this, that, and the other. Of course, people are just going to generalize because as far as they're aware, nobody's telling me to stop. Like, we understand it's not all of you. But for the love of God, can you stop getting annoyed at us when we say the Franco fans are being aggressive? Because we understand it's not all of you. But still... Oh my God, just, I don't usually pay attention to it too much, but they seem to be everywhere.
Specifically to that rabid section of his fan base, don't come and cause crap in our comments. I know we're a tiny channel. You probably don't even know we exist. But if you do happen to find this, first of all, fuck you. And second of all, don't come in. Oh, but what about Yuki? Because my candidate for Purgatory is in fact Yuki Tsunoda. Now I'm wearing my Yuki Tsunoda number 22 AlphaTauri hat. Behind me, I have my Yuki Red Bull cans and my little Yuki badge. I am a Yuki Tsunoda ride or die. But my God, this weekend was atrocious.
It was painful.
I don't think he deserves all the blame, but I think he deserves a big chunk of the blame. So, yeah, just terrible, terrible qualifying run. Look, in fairness to Yuki, in terms of quali, he was 2.5 tenths off of Max in Q1. But that was the difference between, like, that was basically like 3/4 of the grid was split by, I think there was 1 second between P1 and P20.
That sounds about right. Because last year they had 0.8 of a second between P1 in Logan Sargent and in P20. Because I remember them mentioning it because it's the tightest qualifying's ever been since they got the Q1, Q2, Q3 format that we currently use. Tightest qualifying ever was last year at this track.
Yeah. So look, but you're in the Red Bull thing. There's expectations on you. Whether or not that car deserves those expectations is another story. But yeah, so quali was not great. The race though, oh my God, he had no pace whatsoever. I can't remember if he needed 1 or 2 wing changes. He did get some damage at one point. I think it was Stroll. And then obviously there was the incident with Colapinto where he basically like shunted him off track and Colapinto went spinning. And to Yuki's credit, he did full on apologize after the race. He said, yeah, that was completely on him. So yeah, it was just horrendous. And if you go and watch like his onboard camera after the race, he was like monosyllabic in his comments to his race engineer, and he just sat in his car like forlornly and like dejectedly just contemplating how things have gone so bad. I think he just sat there for like a good 30 seconds to like 40 seconds just doing nothing but just sitting. And I did see a rather scary comment that said it's giving Daniel Ricciardo in Singapore vibes.
Yeah.
Which I was like, Jesus Christ, please don't say that.
Don't manifest that.
Yeah, but it's bad. It's really bad to the point where I don't right now, like I'm more leaning towards he won't have a drive next season. And that scares the shit out of me. But like it is what it is. Unless something fundamentally changes at Red Bull, I cannot see him surviving to next season at that team in particular. And because he's driving so poorly at the moment, I can't see another team sort of thinking, oh, but he's a good option for us. You know, people forget what drivers can do and they just focus on their most recent races. And so, you know, it's scary right now what's going to happen. So I really hope that he can sort of pull himself together. But I do want to kind of now touch on the Red Bull elements of that, because this was Red Bull's worst race in years, I would argue. I cannot think of a worse race for them, particularly because I know Max DNFing wasn't their fault, but Max also didn't have a great quali. He was never in the hunt for pole position, nor was in the hunt for a win ever. Okay. Gasly did spin in quali. So he had to abort his final lap, and then there was the obviously the issue with Antonelli. So Max's weekend was just a write-off completely. And then you had Yuki completely underperforming. And it all happened at Red Bull's home track. And that has to be so embarrassing. I believe half the audience walked out about halfway through the race. They just left.
I did hear things like that.
You know, that's the Red Bull ring. there's a
They own
big
that
ass
track.
Red Bull logo bull guy like in the middle of the track, you know.
There's a giant
Like
bull
it's
statue.
there.
That is their track. They own it.
Mm-hmm.
They do
Yeah.
a lot of their testing there. They get their juniors to come and do like fun things in different vehicles there. Like, not only is it Red Bull's home race because it's like in Austria and it's an Austrian team, but like that is their track. Like, it would be like going to Fiorano with Ferrari and doing really badly there. That would be so embarrassing.
Yeah. And so, I mean, really, ultimately, at the end of the day, it comes down to how that team has been managed over the last like 5 years, because they have churned through second drivers. They have, it's been more than 5 years now. I mean, ever since Daniel Ricciardo left, they've been going through second drivers and always like never listening to the feedback, never actually working on improving the car. Even Max is like, this car's not working for me. And they're like, oh, okay. And they don't do anything about it. They make it worse and worse and worse. And eventually, someone has to pay the price for that. And it can't always be the second driver. Pierre, Alex, Sergio, Liam, Yuki, 5 drivers now in a row that they get the blame for what the team is failing to do. And I feel like at some point, the guys who actually own Red Bull, not Christian Horner, not Helmut Marko, the other guys who actually have the power, need to say, sorry, Christian, but you got to go. And along with like Washe and a few others, like they got to go. You've got, look at what Laurent Mekies has done with the Racing Bulls team over the last 2 seasons. Well, less than 2 seasons, actually. And also what Franz Tost was able to do when it was AlphaTauri and Toro Rosso. And I just feel like Red Bull, you know, we always talk about they've got other drivers waiting in the wings. They've got other team principals waiting in the wings. That would be a far better solution to the problem that Red Bull faces than what Christian Horner can offer. And I just do not understand why Red Bull have not made some serious changes to the way that team is run, because they cannot honestly believe that Christian Horner is doing a good job, nor can they believe that he's going to turn this around, because he hasn't turned it around. It's been like this for years and nothing has happened. So yeah, like I'm still a number 1 Yuki fan. I will like, see, I got this today. I got this cool magazine today. Yay. My colleague at work saw it and she got it for me. So thank you. It's a great magazine. I can't read any of it yet. I'm still learning that. But it does say,
You'll be
to
sat
the
there with
glory,
Google Translate.
F1 to the glory, Yuki Tsunoda. Well, I'm gonna make an assignment out of reading it. So I'm gonna like look up all the different kanji and try my best to understand what it says. But it's great because it's got like 10 or 20 or like 10 pages on Yuki Tsunoda, and it's got some bits about like Honda and F1. There's a little bit about Max, and then there's also like about like Takuma Sato and Kamui Kobayashi and Suzuki, and it's a great little like article about Japanese sort of
Influence.
manufacturers and drivers in F1 through the ages, and it's just lovely. So if you have a chance to get it, if you're in Japan, I highly recommend you get your hands on it. So yeah, like I'm putting Yuki in purgatory, but rarely see it as Yuki and Red Bull. Excluding Max, I don't think he did anything wrong this weekend. You know, it wasn't his fault what happened. He couldn't help what happened to him in quali or in the race. So yeah, Yuki plus Red Bull, I'm sending to purgatory.
I would just like to touch on something you said really quickly. Yeah. You were talking about how they've got drivers in the wings, they've got team principals in the wings. Christian Horner, last year, a statistic came out. Christian Horner has been a team principal for longer than the entire other 9 team principals combined. That's ridiculous. Last year, I remember it because it was like he had like a year more, because he's been around since like Red Bull became Red Bull pretty much.
Yep, he's been their only team principal.
Yeah, he's been their only team principal. Mercedes got Toto Wolff in like, was it 2014? Something like that. 2013, 2014. So they've had him for a fair amount of time. Every other team, their team principals have been around for a year, maybe 2. I think when you have 5 drivers, when your next best driver that is in the wings, that has not been in that seat yet, is Isaac Hadjar, who's in his rookie year, and then your next driver after that is a 17-year-old. I think you need to look at yourself, look at the team, and go, what the hell have we done wrong? Because when it is coming down to 17-year-old Arvid Lindblad, who is, I was about to say he's probably not even passed his driving test yet in the UK, because you have to be 17, but he probably has, because he's been driving since he was like 5. He's probably passed his driving test by now, but most people his age have not even got their driving license yet in the UK. Like, when that is what you're looking at, you've just got to take a step back and go, what on earth? And I think, obviously, we have our video, we have Uno's video about the Red Bull Civil War. Go watch that. It's a great video, very informative. That should have been stopped as soon as it started becoming a problem. Like, they should have just sat down, worked it out, even if just amongst the owners. And also, Christian Horner should have been gone when those allegations came out last year.
100%. They had the perfect opportunity to like divorce from him, and they could just said, "Look, it's a bad image for the company. You got to go." And yet they stuck by him, and now look where they are. So yeah, shocking. So
I don't want to say it's karma, but it is karma.
No, 100%. But on that note, Yuki Tsunoda and Red Bull and Franco Colapinto and Flavio Briatore, just because you are sentenced to purgatory. May the gods of motorsport have mercy on your souls. Okay. But moving on, we've actually whoops, sorry, I jumped the gun. Sorry, Niamh. Whoops.
My paradise candidate is absolute shocker. Alex Dunn. Oh my god. Alex Dunn was in Lando Norris's car for FP1 this weekend. He ended up P4 in the session. He was less than a 10th off of Oscar. He is a great talent. He is one to watch. Like, last year McLaren had like Taylor Barnard and Gabriele Bortoleto in F2, and obviously Gabrielle's just gotten his first points in F1. Is it his first points? Yeah. Something like that. If I'm wrong, don't correct me. I don't actually know what's going on anymore. But Taylor Barnard's doing great in Formula E. He's got he's holding all the records of like youngest person to do this and youngest person to do that. McLaren can really pick their junior drivers, because like Alex Dunn, I have my eye on him, as he will go somewhere and he will do well. I think he's incredibly talented. Obviously, he nearly matched Oscar in just one free practice session. He did pretty well this weekend. He finished P2 in the feature race, and I'd say the only clouds he really had this weekend were the fact that he ended up getting disqualified from that P2 in the feature race for a technical infringement that I wouldn't really say was his fault, because it was like plank wear or something, which actually got quite a lot of drivers. Another McLaren junior as well, Ugo Chukwa. They weren't having a good time with the plank wear in junior formulas. But yeah, Alex Dunn, invest now. Come on, you can be like one of his OG supporters if you support him from now on. I just want to hype him up, really.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I mean, this section is, sometimes we'll go for like the race winner or whatever, but it's nice when we can talk about someone who's maybe not as, the spotlight isn't really on them, but we get to like shine it on them for a little bit and just sort of get people's attention on it. Because it might just be an FP1 session, but, when you are so closely matched to the guy who's leading the championship.
When Cadillac have 2 potential seats for next year, and you are second, I think, in the F2 championship, he was leading at one point, but then I think he got disqualified, so I don't actually know if he's still leading or if it's someone else now. But yeah, when you are really high up in the championship, when you are doing great, when you can almost match the championship leader in an FP1 session, then I think race teams should be looking at you. Cadillac, please. An Alex Yuki lineup would fix something in me. I will be your biggest fan. I will come to every single race. Please.
Okay, so Niamh is going to bankrupt herself on the hopes that Alex and Yuki get to drive for Cadillac. Okay, thank you, Niamh. Moving on, my candidate is Gabriel Bortoleto. We did kind of talk about him a little bit, but we wanted to save it because he got his first ever points in Formula One this weekend. He got his first points of the season, first points of his career, and he did it while beating his manager and two-time world champion, Fernando Alonso, on track. So a very solid performance from him this week. He qualified well, he raced well, he kept it together, and it wasn't just like he had a whole bunch of like clear track and was just kind of riding his own race. No. He fought for that position, and he fought hard and he fought well. So I think he did a phenomenal job, and quite frankly, I did not expect a lot from him. I'll be honest. Like, I didn't expect that much from him. And the beginning of the season, the last few races, I was like, what's his vibe, But I think he proved himself this weekend, and he's shown that, Audi, which this team will become next year, they can rely on him and Nico Hulkenberg to do what they need to do to get this that team off the ground when they do actually start racing in 2026. So if you don't mind too much, I'm going to move on, because we're already at 57 minutes, basically. So yeah, Alex Dunn, Gabriel Bortoleto, Mr. Bortoleto. Okay, Mr. Bortoleto, Mr. Dunn, for pleasing the gods of motorsport, you are granted entry into paradise. Ascend. Okay, now we're just going to quickly go over our predictions that we made for this race. A lot of us were dreadfully bad at this, so let's quickly go through
I wasn't.
Pole position. No one got pole position right. Everyone discounted Lando, and we did it. Yeah, and now we all have egg on our faces. So we're not even going to spend time there. Podium, P3, Immy, Niamh, and Lacey all went for Charles Leclerc, and what a good call from them. Well done. 1 point to each of them. I went for Max Verstappen, which I think was a good shout had he not been run off the track. Kira also went for Max. Lee went for Lando, and Tay and Willow went for George Russell. Russell was kind of not even. He just was in no man's land this race. He was like,
he would have been the next driver to get lapped after Liam Lawson. So
yeah. Then we've got podium, second place. Immy, Lee went for Max. They were wrong. I went for George Russell. I was wrong. Tay and Lacey went for Lando. They were slightly warmer, but still wrong. But Niamh, Willow, and Kira got it spot on with
Oscar Piastri.
What's his name? Oscar Piastri. Sorry. I did a whole day of work on very little sleep because I watched the race last night. I only went to bed like after midnight, and now I'm trying to do like an hour-long podcast. So sorry about that. Okay, but first place, only one person got it right, and she's with us this evening. Niamh, congratulations. Woo! So you got her entire podium correct. Not only just like in the correct order as well. That's crazy. So well done, Niamh.
Crazy. I'm never getting points again this season. Like, I've used all of my luck in Austria.
Yeah.
The thing was, I literally just did it based off of vibes, and I sent it in. I was like, oh, I meant to have Oscar and Lando the other way around. Oh, well, can't be bothered to edit it.
Very lucky on your part there. Well done.
I know.
Okay. So not only do you get 3 points for your podium, but you'll get an extra point as well because you got all three of the podium positions, all three people on the podium correct, regardless of the order. But you got the order right as well. So yeah, very good. Immy, Lee, myself, Tay, and Lacey all went for Oscar, which in fairness, we were close. He was only a few seconds off. at the end of it. And Kira and Willow went for George and Max, respectively. But our wild card predictions. Yay! Our wild cards always tend to do better. Immy, I can't remember what it was, but Yuki's smiling there, so it was definitely wrong. Lee went for double Aston Martin points. Fernando got the points, but Lance did not, unfortunately. I predicted that an Alpine would get through to Q3, which I'm quite fascinated that actually happened given their pace this weekend.
Yeah.
I don't know if Kira predicted a car would catch on fire or just DNF, but
I think it was a mechanical issue. I wouldn't say
yeah, all of that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever Kira's prediction was, she was right. Niamh went for double Sauber points.
No.
Niamh,
I
how
did
did
not.
you know? No?
I did not predict double Sauber points. I predicted that someone would go 2 laps down on the leader.
Oh, why is that picture? Oh, because that's a Sauber. Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
the back markers. It was Willow that predicted double Sauber points, not me.
Oh, there we go.
But
okay, yeah, Willow's got double Sauber points. Yeah, okay. Fair enough. So Niamh got that right because who went 2 laps down, Niamh?
Yuki.
Yuki Tsunoda, Red Bull's home Grand Prix. In the only
I
Red
thought,
Bull that was
to be
still on
fair,
track.
I thought it was going to be like an Alpine that would go 2 laps down because they've just been appalling this year.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to jinx him.
Yeah.
And also, it very nearly didn't happen.
I don't know what Tate predicted. Yeah, sorry.
Just really quickly, that is the first time a Red Bull has gone 2 laps down since Monaco 2007. Fun fact.
There are people who work for this podcast who weren't even born the last time that happened.
Yep.
So,
I wasn't.
Yeah. I was out of high school already, but anyway. Okay, so
remember that race?
They predicted a happy Horner. I don't know why, but that deserves minus points.
I'll have a look and see what it was specifically.
That image of Horner and his thumb on my screen again. For anyone who knows, they know. I'm not even going to explain that. And then Lacey went with. I don't know what Lacey's. Oh, that's a tire exploding.
Oh.
It must have been like a DNF of some kind or collision of some sort.
Wait, give me.
And all of those things happened. So definitely right. And yeah, as we said, Willow predicted Sauber points, double points. So well done to Willow, Niamh, Lacey, Kira, and myself. We all get a point. So how does that affect the standings? Well, oh, okay, it's not so bad. Okay. Niamh, you've just jumped up the standings into second place. Congrats. Just 2 points adrift of Immy. Immy's feeling the Oscar Piastri pressure right now. You're pulling off Orlando.
Should I not have gotten 5? Because I got the whole podium, plus 1 for getting it in the correct order, plus my wild card.
You should have 5, so you're in fact only 1 point adrift of Immy.
Immy, I'm coming for you.
That. Yeah, we'll just.
That's about the only mental maths I can do. I can only do it when it's competitive.
Yeah, message Immy in the Discord and get her to change that. But yeah, you should be on 21 points now. Kira is in 3rd place, picking up 2 points this weekend. So well done to Kira. I'm in 4th place with 1 extra point. Lee in 5th place, no points. Willow and Lacey also in 5th place, picking up 2 points, so joining Lee there. And Tay languishing down at the bottom in 7th with 11 points. Tay is our Yuki Tsunoda, unfortunately. So, all that's left to say, because we now are over an hour, and I don't want this to go on too long, but please, if you enjoyed this stream, leave us a like.
Okay, so I have found Tay's wild card. The wild card was 3 Red Bulls or V-carbs in the points. Yeah, that's
was the opposite thing happened, Tay? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Immy predicted Yuki Q3. Lee predicted Aston double points like we thought.
Lacey?
And where's Willow gone? Where's Willow? Yeah, Willow was just Sauber points again. So, what did Lacey say, actually? I'm interested in that.
Lacey doesn't send her messages, doesn't send her predictions on Discord, so we can't see them. Yeah. Anyway, but I think we've spoken enough now. So that was our recap of the 2025 Austrian Grand Prix reaction video thing.
Are you
Please join us.
excited to have this for another too many years, 16 years or something? Because it's been extended to 2041.
Yeah, I'll be in my 50s, so
I will be 33. That's scary.
Wow. Okay. So anyway, on that bombshell, thank you so much for
Age
tuning into
reveal.
Traffic Paradise Radio. Please make sure to leave a like and comment down below who you think was your Paradise or Purgatory candidate of the week. And make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you can join us on Wednesday as we discuss what we think is going to happen at the Silverstone Grand Prix in Britain. So, from myself, Uno, and from Niamh, thank you so much for tuning in and have a good rest of your day or night. I haven't got the other things ready yet. Hold on. We need to play our music. Okay, so let's try again. From myself, Uno, and from Niamh, and everyone at Traffic Paradise Radio, thank you for tuning in. And please have a good rest of your day or night. Bye-bye. Oh, that was the wrong video. That's the wrong video. There we go. Is the music playing? The music's not playing.
Yeah, music's playing.
Absolutely.
We're like Red Bull.
Absolutely dreadful.
It was just like Red Bull.